19 hours. That's how much online video people are watching on average in a week. And the demand for video is only growing. If you're a content creator, you know the struggle of picking between quality and quantity to grow your channel, especially if you're on a tight budget. But who says you can't have both? With Storyblocks, you get all the stock content you need to create amazing videos fast. While most stock libraries have expensive pay-per-clip pricing, Storyblocks gives you unlimited downloads for one set price. Download anything from a library of millions of 4K and HD footage clips, After Effects templates, music, sound effects, images, and more. Everything is covered by our industry-leading licensing that lets you share your videos anywhere, anytime. Plans start at just $15 a month. Find all the stock you need and create faster than ever, so you can tell your story your way. Visit storyblocks.com/red circle to learn more.
A choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a ride.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
You are expanding reality.
John Gusty, welcome to Expanding Reality, introducing you to the audience here, my friend. This is awesome. JG, we have been laughing our asses off here, having a good time. I am grateful, first of all, to Rebecca. Shout out to her for connecting us, and she knows who she is, so shout out. This is going to be an awesome conversation because we've already, again, been having a blast here. So for the audience's sake that's not too familiar with you, if you don't mind, my friend, would you mind introducing yourself, sir?
Yes. Okay, so lifelong music industry guy, lied my way into my first job at a place called Zia Records in Tempe, Arizona, back in 1978. I was 14, but I said I was 16. Been a record store and a band guy pretty much my entire life. It was, I think I've done everything in the music industry one could do. I've run managed record stores. I have been the artist. I have worked for management. I've worked for distribution. I've worked directly for the artist. I've pretty much done. I've got the unique distinction of working in a record store. Was in a band, went through a couple record label contracts. I have taken my own product out of the box. I have priced it. I have put it on the shelf. I have sold it. And a couple years later, I have taken my own product off the shelf because of a deletion notice, put it back in the box and mailed it back to the distributor. So I've watched the full life cycle of an artist from about as frontline as you can get. Been extremely blessed. I moved to Nashville about 25 years ago. There is a shit ton of music industry here in Nashville. Probably not what a lot of you think. Nashville gets typecast as country music. I've been here for 25 years, and I think I've maybe seen a small handful of country music, actual country music here in Nashville, and most of that came from Texas, and the rest came from Canada. There's a lot of Hollywood and New York schlock here, but there's also really cool shit. You know, I mean, Jack White is here. Black Keys are here, Paramore's here, Kesha's here, ton of, you name the 80s hair metal bands, most of them have relocated here, a lot of blues, a lot of hip hop, just a lot of music here. But so I'm just steeped in music. If you were to see my bedroom, it looks like an old record store, tons of vinyl and just guitars and stuff everywhere. So that's been my life. But when I met my wife, who was also in the music industry 25 years ago, she was walking with a cane at the time. She was diagnosed as having multiple sclerosis. We could probably have an entire show just on my opinion of the word diagnose and what some people think that means and what I think that means. But she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was a was and still continue to be a really healthy person. Haven't spent any time in hospitals, or I don't go to doctors, none of that stuff. So I'd never really interfaced with the medical industrial complex before, but she was my girl, love of my life. And I quickly realized, I think a lot of people have this, a lot of us have been born with this misconception that, there's some file somewhere and the medical industrial complex is keeping track of you and whatever. And obviously that's not the case. And if you have some sort of issue and you're relying on that particular industry to take care of you, you've got to be your own general contractor. You can't have no one else is going to care about you more than you. And so I just kind of appointed myself my wife's general contractor. And I'm a bit of a digger. I don't exist on the surface of anything. If I get into anything at all, I like to dig. I like to go down and see, like, where'd it come from? What's the sources? All that stuff. And so I started digging into her situation and the people that she was dealing with. And it took about 15 minutes of research and experience with the medical industrial complex to know that I was really well familiar with the entertainment complex, where you've got deceit, manipulation, profiteering, just all of that stuff in the entertainment industry, ego. But that shit was like amplified within the medical industrial complex. And it really started to bother me, because it's one thing to be manipulating people into, winning a Keith Urban signed guitar or whatever, or tickets to go see Kanye West or a seat upgrade or something like that. But it's another thing when you're manipulating people and when it has to do with their health and wellness, and when some of these manipulations or deceptions or out and out lies can cause people's deaths, and that really hit me hard. I mean, I'm an old punk rock guy, so I just like straightforward honesty. I don't have to agree with you, but if you're straightforward and you're honest, we're totally cool. And I didn't see any of that in the medical industrial complex, and so I appointed myself GC of my wife's health, and started going through that journey with her, and I was just floored by the lies, the deceit, the manipulation, the scripting, the profiteering, just all it was super gross. And so we together just exited that. I mean, I got her out of that. And along the way, a bunch of people tried to help her. And I'm not saying that there's not good people inside the medical industrial complex, but there's good government school teachers. There's good people that work for NASA. There's good people that work for Disney. But NASA, Disney, the government school system, we all know that those are fucking dark, manipulative, awful entities. So I'm not bagging on the people that work in these industries. A lot of people are just making a living and doing what they do. But one of the people that took an interest in my wife years ago was a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Ayres. He's over in the UK, doctor over there. And he and I hit it off and became fast friends. And we not only clicked on our health and wellness ideology, but he was someone that I could talk to about no topic was off the table. I mean, we talked about everything from the shape of the earth to what is God to, did Paul McCartney really die in 1960? All of that stuff. And we were both just approached it all with this just raw curiosity. I just want to know. Let's and even when you think we only know what we know at this particular moment, and you might learn something tomorrow and your opinion changes or your view changes. But anyways, Jeremy and I became fast friends, and around fourth quarter of 2019. He and I, like I said, we're both diggers, and I'm sure you're familiar with Event 201 that took place in October of 2019. We were literally at the beginning stages of putting a book together, because we had this idea that there's people kind of having their aha awakening moments, and all over the place, and some people might have that awakened moment as it relates to food, and other people might have it as it relates to religion. Other people might have it as it relates to government or media. And everyone's kind of like waking up in various places at various stages. And and you could go down any rabbit hole, and half of the struggle of going down a rabbit hole is you got to peel away all the bullshit to get to the people and the information that is legit or appears to be legit. Lot of opinions, a lot of passion, and I love all that stuff. But Jeremy and I and a couple other comrades from the UK wanted to put together a field guide for people who were kind of waking up and you have your first aha moment. You're like, oh my gosh, Muslims weren't responsible for 9/11 or something like that, and their mind is blown, and then you meet somebody who is also of that same mindset, and if they're a little more along their journey, they take your hand and go, oh, honey, not only were Muslims not responsible for 9/11, there's so much more than that. We didn't land on the moon. Oh my gosh, sugar is toxic. So people just start freaking out when all of this stuff their reality starts caving in. So in 2019, we started putting a book together, and then the event 201 happened, and we're like, this is weird, because for those of you 9/11 enthusiasts, remember they were running some drills, and then all of a sudden the same thing happened, and event 201 was was a drill-ish type thing, and we're paying attention to that, and lo and behold, 4 months later, look what happened. Like the play that they were playing out started to actually happen, and so we released this book, The Red Pill Revolution, and it was intended to be a field guide, like I said, for people who just were kind of starting to see what was going on. And the book, we tried really hard to not make the book preachy. There's no declarations made in it. It was more like a big ideological hug of love going, hey, look, man, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's a lot of people who are at various stages of where you're at now, and we're one of you. We're amongst you, and nobody knows what the hell is going on, but we know pieces of what is and isn't true. And so just tried to make like I said, the book was just a good, humble, honest field guide for people who are just starting that journey, or maybe in that journey and trying to make a little more sense of things. And so my life path it went from all entertainment industry to, because of my wife's situation, to really digging into the topic of health and wellness, and coming to the realization that, just like with religion or politics, there are these big worlds of thought, these ideological worlds. And there are people who, even to this day, even after the last 3+ years, there are people who still, for what I will argue is religious reasons, believe in the medical industrial complex. There are people who believe in these people who wear white coats and have letters after their names, and there are people who believe in the hospital system, even after what we've all just lived through. And I just want to spend whatever time I have left making content and being part of content like awesome shows like this one that can at the very least further conversation. Because you can't walk into a room of 100 people and go, the entire medical industrial complex is bullshit. You can't start the conversation there, because you've lost a significant number of people from the get-go. But if you can get people to start questioning some of the things, did you know chemotherapy, self-admittedly has like a 2% success? 2% success rate. Yeah, it'd be like me, if you had some problem and I was like, put this loaded gun to your forehead and pull the trigger, there's a 2% chance that it might save you. Like, would you even consider doing that? But people do it all the time, and it's called chemotherapy, And there's so many things like that. And if you could just get people to, I try to do it through humor and analogies. And if you can just get people to start thinking about some of these institutional thought patterns that we've all had like pounded into our heads since birth, I think it's the best. I think it's a better use of my time than trying to get people to fight it, because at the end of the day, we are all in some sort of abusive relationship with the state. And, you know what? Anyone that's ever been in an abusive relationship knows you're not going to change that person. You just need to get away from that person. And it's like, so I don't give a shit who is the winner of the last episode of America's Next Top President or any of that crap. I don't care, because I'm 58 years old. I've never gone to my mailbox. I've never gotten my Ronald Reagan Prize. I've never gotten my Bill Clinton Prize. I've never gotten my Barry Soetoro Prize. I've never gotten any of that, stage name Barack Obama. And again, no Trump Prize, no, none of that stuff. So like we are sovereign human beings. And if people would look around and watch, I know this sounds really hippie, new agey, and maybe it is, but like, look at all other life forms. Look at bees, look at cats, look at trees, look at insects. Like, we're the only life form that has set ourselves up the way that we've set ourselves up. Like every other life form knows how to get food, knows how to get water, knows how to create shelter, and knows how to get through the day, and they don't need these third-party fictional constructs called corporations or commercial entities controlling them, and there's so many simple aspects to just life, like water. You and I were talking before the show. Water is a huge topic to me. Name another life form that puts a paywall between itself, the species, and the very water it needs to survive. We're the only life form that does that. And it's a fucked up paradigm. Like, why is there, it falls from the sky, springs from the ground, and it's an essential element of literally our physical structure, who, depending upon what specialists you want to argue with, we're 70 to 80% water. Why are we paying for water? Why are we not taught from birth how to get water, how to build shelter, and how to grow and maintain a food source? Those should be the first three things that we learn. And it's the first three things that any other life form learns. Like, why? So we are so heavily manipulated, artificially manipulated, I would add. And I don't know. I don't want to fight it. I just don't want to participate in it. And so I try to not participate in it. And part of that non-participation is having conversations like this one with badass people like yourself.
Fucking A, man. Guys, all the ways to find John are going to be located down in the show description. Make sure you check out his website here, theredpillrevolution.com, as well as his book, The Red Pill Revolution, a practical field guide to staying sane and healthy in a crazy-ass world. This is amazing. Your perspectives, you're in the right spot here, and we welcome you with open arms, my friend.
Thank you.
First question for you pertains to the music industry. I actually just got a couple here. Favorite guitar solo? Now, this is subjective, of course. I'm just curious. You have an all-time?
Man, my favorite. There's so many of them, but there is one of my all-time favorite bands is a band called The Church from Australia. Like early 80s kind of neo psychedelic band, and they have a song called Disenchanted, and it's a guitar solo, and me and a couple other like guitar aficionado buddies of mine kind of feel the same way about this. It's literally a 2-note guitar solo, but it's just so beautifully placed. And so The Church, Disenchanted. Marty Wilson Piper is a guitar player. That's probably one of my favorite.
Done. I'll link the Spotify down there so you guys can check it out. Shout out to The Church there. That is awesome, man. Okay. All right. Second question here about music industry. How much of a percentage of it would you say is ran by lizard turds? And follow-up question, how many lizard turds did you actually see reveal themselves to you accidentally when you were in that?
My gosh, I really feel like I and my wife got to experience the the final stages of the music. I don't think there is a music industry anymore, to be honest with you. I think anything, not just the music industry, but you asked specifically about that. Everything now it's all just, monetization, marketing plans and all. But there was a time when there really was a music industry. And I think any commodity probably has that, I don't know. I mean, nowadays you can go to a 7-Eleven and get gourmet coffee, but there was a time, 10, 15 years ago where you had to go to these cool little indie shops and before coffee shop was a thing. And, there were these beautiful artisan, people that cared about the art of coffee, and they sourced the right stuff and they roasted it the right way. And they did these beautiful, and it was a more, pun intended, I guess, organic, setup. But then, everyone likes coffee. So it wasn't, it's not too far of a stretch to think that caught on. Flash forward to today. And like I said, now you can go in and walk into your 7-Eleven and you get gourmet coffee because it got occulted. It got occulted by, the corporations, and they ruined it. So I actually saw glimpses of the music industry. I worked for Tower Records for 15 years. And so, Russ Solomon, the guy who was the founder of Tower Records, and all the wonderful people that he had on his team, those are all people that were very much a part of my life. So I saw real people in the music industry doing real things for real reasons. But I also saw when that ended, and it was it was kind of a slow wave when, everything started to become digitized. And I think we could have a whole conversation on the difference between digital and physical, because dude, if you're fucking hungry, right? If you're starving and I'm your only option, and I offer you some digital tacos, it's not gonna help you out. It's not gonna mean anything. And so, those who are into digital currencies and things like that, just, I don't know, keep that in mind. If you can't hold it in your hands, it's not real. It's not. And just because you might have a little app on your fondle slab that tells you that you've got X number of credits in your account, it's not real. Like, but I can go downstairs and I can go into one of my lock boxes and I can show you a handful of silver coins. Now those are real and they're in my possession until someone takes them from me. But so I don't know. But when I saw the digital and music in particular is such a physical medium, not to sound crass, but still to this day, if I take if I get a piece of vinyl, a brand new piece of vinyl, I just did it the other day, and you take the cellophane off that and you open it up, and just the smell, it's like taking a girl's bra for the first time. It's like, oh, this is everything I want right now. It's like the smell, the feel, all of that stuff. Music was a very physical thing. You went to buy music in these places that were it's like going to a bar, and it's like you could have a beer on your couch, or you could go to a bar and you can sit in a setting and there's the ambience and all of that. And it's a different kind of beer drinking experience than drinking a beer on your couch. And so, everything about music was physical. The product was physical, physical and visual, and the experience of buying it and then going and seeing music was physical. And when all of that got digitized, I will argue that the industry became it became no different than any other industry. I mean, it's like, people don't shop for anything like they used to. You don't buying shoes. Most people buy their shoes online now, but you used to have to go to a shoe store and have a shoe human put some physical shoes in front of you and you try the shoes on and you walk around, and most people don't do that anymore. So when I saw the digital, transformation of the music industry, that's when I think the gross, dark people really showed their faces, and it became no different than the rest of the entertainment industry, where you've got, they recycle actors, and they've got actors playing multiple parts, and it's all and some people get really bothered by that very subject. It's just crazy, but I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen, I've actually worked for people who the public knows as one person, but I know that there's a human behind that playing that person. They're also playing another public facing character.
I've heard of this, where they basically are multiple people. So like the Mitch McConnell's the health minister that's not doing so good. Like none of the health ministers look good. They all look like Sith Lords. But have you? So what?
Darth Maul was pretty cut though.
Darth Maul was dope as shit. I don't know. He was more mercenary in my mind. He was kind of pulled in from the outside. He didn't kind of drink of the Kool-Aid really.
Looks better than that New Zealand fuck. But anyways.
Oh right. What can you say the person?
I would rather not.
Okay, rather not. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Do you have any examples that you could point out that you maybe are leaning more toward that are in the positive, that don't give away anything you don't want to reveal? In a scenario, an example. For example, we just gave one, Mitch McConnell and that health minister.
Are you talking about like people who are playing like multiple characters?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got trying to think of someone that we could safely talk about. Here's one everyone can relate to. I would argue, and if someone wants to contact me, I can probably show you physical proof, because I actually was there. I helped this girl and her father put her first CD single into padded envelopes and mail it out to radio. But I will say that before I reveal that, let me say this. Anyone right now can go do a Google search or whatever, corporate search engine you happen to use, and do like 3 Tom Cruises, and you'll see that in that image of the 3 guys that they all look identical, right? Anyone can do a search for, I think within the last 6 months or so, Eminem had they use the term body double because that just seems to skate by most people's minds, but he had one of his body doubles pass away, I think from the MAGA jab, and they didn't say that, but it was heart issues, and in this guy's, and this was like in like mainstream news, I think this was like MSNBC or whatever, you can Google it, but it even said that this gentleman who passed away appeared as Eminem in concert appearances, live appearances, TV appearances. Okay, so I can tell you with utmost certainty that certainly all the A-list celebrities, especially the music people, have 2 or 3 physical, identical looking backups, right? So here's where I was going originally with something that everybody can relate to. I have a very strong reason to believe that those of you who paid large sums of money to go see Taylor Swift recently are not seeing the original. The person on that stage is definitely not the original person who started out as Taylor Swift. And I mean, like, and I think there's even more like well-known ones than that. Like we're on our like 3rd or 4th Adele. Like, I mean, that's with Adele, I don't even think they even care anymore, that it's not even close to being the same like original person. How many Hillary Clintons have we seen? The Osama bin Laden character changed how many times during the 9/11 narrative? It's like it's entertainment, man. It's entertainment, and people don't think twice when you're watching Fight Club and you go it's not actually Brad Pitt right there, that's a body double. Then they don't think twice about that. Somehow that's okay, but when other entertainment characters, like the Hillarys and the Trumps and the political stuff, do the same thing, some people somehow call that a weird conspiracy, and it's all entertainment, man. It's all the entertainment industry.
You know what's wild about this is because now you sit here and think, oh, Tom Cruise says, oh, I do all my own stunts. Well, maybe the stunt double version of him was the one being interviewed that day. So it was being altruistic.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And that just made me like think of a huge point. So these people that, call it the elite, call it the Illuminati, call it Justin Bieber, whatever name you have for, dark, high-level evil.
Lizards.
Yeah, now, you don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe it, but they strongly and passionately believe what they believe. And part of that belief, I can tell you, just because I love noticing and jotting down patterns. Like I like to notice patterns in things. Part of their belief system relies heavily on, I think we would just call it karma. So like if I'm one of them and I'm going to lie to you or deceive you, so it doesn't come back on me, I have to kind of tell you that I'm doing what I'm doing to you. Now, I'm going to do it in a way so you won't know it, or you might not pick up on it. But, I think everybody's heard the term, the truth is in plain sight.
Yeah, like, revelation and method. Yeah.
They do. I mean, that's part of their everyday, that's how they operate. And so, you bring up a great point when you are seeing somebody like on a screen say something, you might not even be seeing when that entity says, I didn't do that, well, maybe they probably didn't, because
you just put that one on the witness stand that day, right?
Yeah.
Because then they're not lying under oath.
And they could give a shit about that. They care about like that they're not going to have some karmic, they don't call it karma, but they're not going to have some karmic payback for being deceitful, And so they are, in their minds, they're being completely truthful on the record,
And that's where this world of symbolism and all of that comes in, to where they put it right out in front of everything. And my wife and I were talking about this last night. We were watching something on Batman, one of the Batman, and we were sitting there just kind of winding down. And I was like, that's interesting, because then you see it and then it's like, oh, that scenario played out in real life. Like whenever they point real quick to the word Sandy Hook and then they bounce off, it's like, does that counts for them as saying, oh, we revealed it, right? But it's this like quick split off in a second thing. And then you have to be paying attention enough and rewind the thing and go frame by frame and say, oh, but way in the background, there's a number 33 and look, the two pillars and look, the checkerboard floor and stuff. So why don't they slip it in like obscure movies that no one will see? Do you think that they do that, or that they have to put it in major movies to put it out because of the karma thing?
Yeah, I think, and let's just use the word karma because it's easy.
It's easier.
But that whole karmic aspect of it is a huge part of that ideology, and so a lot of people think that they do it. All like the Simpsons foreshadowing and stuff like that. A lot of people think that they're doing it to fuck with you, but it's not. It's part of their belief. It's like they're very religious. It's a very religious mindset, and so they're following that belief very religiously, and so they're not doing it to fuck with you. They're doing it to save their asses karmically.
When we talk about things like this, brother, I'm reminded of a quote. I had a gentleman on named Andrew Benjamin. He was in a group chat that we had. It's called the Mighty Morphin Sovereign Rangers. Our mutual friend Brandon and Joe Williams came up with the title for that episode, by the way. It's awesome, guys. Go check it out. Link down below. So a guy named Andrew Benjamin was on that talk, and one thing that he said that just stuck with me, man, this quote, he said, the answer to life is the mastery of questions. And so what we're doing here is we're discovering that there are things out there put in your face, but no, it seems that rarely are folks asking the right questions. We're asking some questions, but it seems like those questions also have to do with staying within the confines of the game. Let's say, for instance, that politics is a game. Let's just say that for shits and gigs. And let's say that people argue again. Yeah. People argue again that the Democrats is better because the Republicans this, and then there's a war going on there. And, their viewpoints are non-falsifiable. They're also correct in both ways because this place is built on paradox. So they're able to find ammunition for both, to fuel both arguments either way. But rarely again are people stepping back and seeing it for what it is, a system that's a self-perpetuating game. And you can argue within the game, but again, rarely, I think what we're learning now is to ask the right questions, which is to step outside of that and say, what's the game for? What are we doing here? What is this distraction method for? Because that's obviously what it is.
And isn't it interesting that today, present day, more than ever, the very act of asking a question now is almost militant. You can be frickin' literally canceled for asking questions, you know?
So then take that statement. The answer to life is a mastery of questions. And anybody telling you not to ask questions are actually keeping you from mastering your own life.
Yeah. You know, when the whole, several years back, when the whole gay marriage thing was the social posturing thing of the moment, I had, now my wife and I, 20 plus years ago had a beautiful wedding, and we had a lot of people there, but, and we were married in Tennessee, but one entity that wasn't invited to my wedding was the state of Tennessee, because I happen to believe in, marriage is a covenant, which is basically an Uber promise, and a covenant is, dude, you and I could make a covenant right now that every day on this date, we're going to meet here and do a Zoom and
I could do that.
Drink a beer together. That's a covenant. And that covenant is only as strong as you and me keeping that covenant up. So we don't need a third party involved in that. It's like the covenant is between you and me. And so, I don't believe in legal marriage. I think legal marriage is offensive to me. I don't need a commercial entity telling me that my relationship with someone is official or not official. And so I watched the gay marriage argument, if you can even call it that, from a really different perspective than a lot of my friends and family and neighbors were watching it, because I was watching these two, I'm not even going to call them sides, because there was this group over here going, we've got this privilege and you can't have it. And you got this other side going, well, we want this privilege. And they're arguing over this privilege. And every time I would get drawn into that, I'd be like, I don't, it's a silly discussion. Well, why is it so silly? This is huge. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, why do you feel, why do any of you feel on either side, whatever, of this argument that you're having, why do any of you feel that you need a company to give you their blessing, a little piece of paper that says your friendship, your marriage, whatever it is official? Doesn't that sound a bit silly? And I got a few people to understand what I'm saying. And it's like, you don't need, in fact, it's such a simple concept, but it's hard for a lot of people to grasp. If you feel you need, any time you make a commitment that you need a commercial entity to oversee that commitment and give you a piece of paper, I would say that you're a bit codependent on corporations, I guess, but I did not want the beautiful union that my wife and I have together soiled by even the thought that a company has to come in and tell me that what I have with my girl is for real or not. And so when I saw people arguing over that, I thought the argument, the bigger conversation or the more constructive thing to do was not side with, and again, I didn't even look at it as sides, because they're both
playing
like
the game.
Two groups of people arguing inside the same building. And
exactly.
It's like, get out of that building.
Yes.
All of you get out of that building and come outside with the rest of us, because you know what? You and I, dude, we're friends because we say we're friends, period. And we will be friends based on what happens between you and I. We don't need Lowe's or Home Depot or the state of Texas or anybody else to come in and say that you and I are friends. We're friends because we say we are. And if we have a covenant of friendship or then it's based on the strength of whatever you and I put into it, period. And no commercial entity needed.
Oh, man. All right. So let's talk about commercial entities, because all this is a bunch of bullshit. So let's talk about disconnecting from the matrix. First of all, what is the matrix in your mind? Because that's like quantum physics and spirituality. People throw it around, but it's a buckshot. That's a wide reaching net. So what is your definition of matrix? And then also, what is your idea for connecting from said matrix?
I think the matrix, and it's a vague term, but to me, the matrix, I really believe there are only two types of people. And one group I will call the control group. And let's just say group A. Group A is the control group. And that group is made up of people who want to control. They're and also people who want to be controlled. Now, let's talk about that group for a minute. There are people who really dig control, and I have been blessed to be in charge of some pretty large teams of people, but and you can ask anybody that's ever worked with me or for me, and I don't like the even using the term that you work for me, you work with me. I don't want anyone ever calling me boss, because that's a very liberal term, because that means control. I want to control you. And by the way, I think Democrats and Republicans are both by definition liberal. So anybody that you're over here, you believe in the state, and the state is all about control. Therefore, that is a very liberal thought. So I don't wake up every day wanting, like, even in my marriage, I've got two kids, I got two boys. I don't want to control my wife. I don't want to control my kids. I want to be in control of my situation, but I don't want to control you. I want to work with, I want to be in harmony with people. I don't want to be over people. And, I'm an anarchist, and I think there's a lot of people who don't understand that term. And anarchism is very, very simple. No masters, no slaves. I do not believe that you as a human have the right to walk up and declare authority over another person. I just don't think that. I think that's fucked up. And most people, I hope, would agree. And if you agree with that statement, welcome to anarchy. You are an anarchist. You're not like Fox News or what CNN describes anarchists as. I think people think anarchists are just they just want chaos, and not at all, man. I'm all for rules. I'm all for government. I'm all for all that stuff. It just needs to be consensual. And if it's consensual and there's a way in and a way out, then cool, I'm all for it. If you want to come live on John Island, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm the boss. I will be the boss. I will be making the rules. But I'm not going to force you to live on John Island, and if you want to leave John Island, I'd let you leave. You know what I mean? Because I want everything to be consensual. But anyway, so back to these two groups of people. There's the control group, the people that love to control, and there's no shortage of people that want to be controlled, because I think a lot of people find comfort in being controlled. And so you've got the control group, and then you've got everybody else. And those are the only real two groups of people that I see. And I think the matrix is made up of the alpha people in the control group who just dig control. They're blinded by their hunger for control. They get off on control. And it's a very simple way to answer your question. But I think the matrix is made up of people who like to control and those who want to be controlled, and that group of people is controlled by the alpha people in that group, because you put a group of people together, somebody's going to rise to the top and be the most dominant one, and so the matrix to me is just that control group and the infrastructure and paradigm that those psychopaths have built around that group to try to keep people in that group. But and a lot of it is mental. If you can just break out of everyone's at different levels of being conditioned and manipulated. But if your eyes can be opened and you can see that it is an abusive relationship, if you will, and all you have to do is leave, then I think it becomes easier. And I'm sure that this rolls nicely into that second part of that question is, what do you do to unplug? Well, what it's going to be different for everybody, but I'll use the analogy of an abusive relationship. We've all had, you and I are both guys, at least as far as I know. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
But you and I are both guys. So, and I think we both have kind hearts, towards the ladies. And, we've all known, some women who have been in some horrible relationships, and like the lying, the cheating, the physical abuse, all of that stuff. And we've seen situations where everybody sees it but the woman, and not only does the woman not see it, but she'll actually make excuses. Oh, he's just, he's abused but he loves me. Yeah, he hit me, but he bought me flowers the next day. That type of thing. Okay, the only way that woman is going to get out of that situation is to simply just leave.
This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up for brekkie, lunch, or dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. They just drop them at your door, people. You'll save time and eat well. You'll stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while taking all of your holiday to-dos in stride with good meals in the tum-tum. If you're too busy with all this stuff, these meals are easy to get done. They taste great. All you've got to do is head over to factormeals.com/expandingreality50 and use code expandingreality50 to get 50% off. That's code expandingreality50 at factormeals.com/expandingreality50 to get 50% off.
Well, there's a lot involved in that. Well, I don't have a car. I don't have a job. Well, I live out in the middle. I'd have to walk. A lot of these things are hard. But how do you unplug from the matrix? You just leave. And I started with some pretty big pieces. I mean, years ago, I'd mentioned earlier, I'm an old punk rock guy, old punk skateboarder guy. And one day I was out in my front yard. I live west of Nashville. I live in a beautiful rural area, and, just was just loving where I was at. And I had this thought, back to the topic of water. I was like, you know what? As much as I fancy myself as this like sovereign individualist, I still can't get myself a fucking glass of water without some third commercial entity involved. And that really bothered me. And so I was like, not anymore. From this point forward, I'm done doing that. So the very next thing I did is we dug a well, and then I had my own water. And shortly after that, I made a promise to myself: I'm not going to buy my food from commercial sources anymore. I'm not going to the grocery store anymore. And so I started, you start with something. Eggs. All right. Well, I had just in my area, I had so many different options to buy eggs, not from the store. And then all my meat, I started making friends with farmers and stuff, and produce and dairy. And it's like, so I don't buy any food. I haven't bought food from the grocery store in probably 10 years. And, and that's not to say, for those of you out there that know who I am, don't come up to me in a grocery store when you say, I do still go to the grocery store, but that, I buy paper towels or something, that kind of stuff. But you're not going to see me in a grocery store buying anything that I put in or on my body. So I just wanted to make that little disclaimer, because I don't want anyone snapping a picture of me in like Kroger and go, you said you don't know. But anyways, so you just leave. You leave. There's no other way to get out of an abusive relationship other than just leave. And that's going to mean something different for everybody. But because everyone's in different situations, and maybe you don't leave all at once. Maybe you start moving your stuff out little by little, but eventually you get to the point where you don't need these corporate third-party entities telling you what to eat, selling you what you eat, telling you what to drive, telling you where you can drive, telling you what you can wear, you just stop interacting with them. And I think this is the big elephant in the room. They rely 100% on our submission and our participation. And I don't think enough people realize you can just say no. I went through the entire silliness of the nonsense of 2020. I to this day, I have never put on a face diaper. I've never participated in what they're calling tests, which we all know are not tests. I've never been tested. I've certainly never gotten the MAGA jabs or any of the Brandon boosters. I haven't gotten any of the, and I didn't change shit about what my day. I went everywhere. I went everywhere I was gonna go anyways. And here's the kicker, and you might be surprised by this, but I don't have one Karen story to tell you. I don't have any stories about people come up to me giving me shit about it. There was one or two times when I was asked politely, could you put on a mask? And I just said, no, thank you. I'll leave if you'd like me to. And in both instances, they said, no, that's okay. So I think there's easily a third, because I think a third of the population went along with this. And I don't know if you're familiar with like the theory of thirds, but it's certainly something that's proven out to be true in my life time and time again. But it's basically this, you can take a room of 100 people and you can say, eat this cookie. A third of the room is just going to eat the cookie. No questions asked. A third of the room isn't going to touch that cookie just because you told them to eat it, just on principle. I'd say that's probably a third of that I'm going to eat. Yeah. Then there's that middle third that they might eat it, they might not. They've got to be convinced, one way or the other. So I think a little more than a third of our population went along with the whole scamdemic thing, and and I think that's probably, mathematically accurate, although they'll tell you it was much higher, but I that's not what played out in my life. But I don't think enough of us realize that saying no is actually pretty healthy. You can say no to anything. You don't have to, a cop pulls you over. You don't have to get out of the car. You don't have to roll the window down. You don't have to show them your ID. If we want to play the legal game, there is no law or authority that can compel you to produce any evidence or testimony that can be used against you later in a court of law. And of course, your driver's license and registration, of course, they can be used against you. So, but people are just conditioned to not say no or to not ask questions. And I think it's people like you and me and conversations like this that, if nothing else, man, I just want to inspire people to say, you don't have to say no to be a dick or to be combative. Like I said, I went through the entire scamdemic and just said no politely and smiled, and I never had any problems at all. No one yelled at me. No one pointed their finger at me. They may, under their breath, they might have gone, super spreader, psychopath, or whatever. But whatever, yeah.
It's incredible, man. And we share exactly the same experience of that. I was out and it didn't change anything about my life. Never got a test. I felt great the entire time. And same as you, I don't need hospitals and shit. We just take good care of ourselves, dude. Drink water, enjoy your life.
Yeah, I actually had the added prop of my wife is in an electric scooter. She hasn't taken a step on her own in about 15 years just because of what's going on inside her body. But, she has, been declared, not just immunocompromised, but she's really, she's got some insane, immune situations going on with her body. And you'd think that she would have been, if the narrative was to be believed, my wife should have been dead, years ago.
And they said it with the homeless people. Like there were tons of homeless, the Amish.
Don't you remember stepping over those piles of dead homeless people just everywhere? They were just walking into stores and stuff.
Dead from COVID.
Oh my God. It was awful. Just piles of dead homeless people everywhere. Yeah.
It's insane. The whole damn thing is absolutely crazy. There is one more thing I wanted to come back to and ask you about here. Agorism. So you mentioned here you're an agorist or agorism. Yeah. So I did look this up. I did some due diligence before you came on here. Free market anarchist political philosophy. Now listen to the definition of this. This is for the audience. Agorism is a free market anarchist political philosophy philosophy founded by Samuel Edgar Konkin III that believes...
That's EK3.
EK3 represent that believes the ultimate goal is to bring about a society in which all relations between people are a voluntary exchange or a free market. The term comes from a Greek word agora, referring to an open place or an assembly, and a market in ancient Greek city-states. So agorism theory divides people into two classes: people who make their living through the free market and people who make their living by coercing others, called the economic class and political class, respectively. They support a nonviolent overthrow of the second class by the first through peaceful black market and gray market activity known as counter-economics. That is what I am, dude. This is, I think more people, if they looked at this, they would say, oh, but, what am I trying to say here? Not agorism, and anarchist. Anarchist is sort of like, Jesus, I got stumbled there. Anarchist is sort of like Antichrist, and I don't want that, which leads me to my next question for you. So there is sort of a theory here that the God in the Bible is actually Satan, and that Satan runs this show here. Mm-hmm. So if you would say
I believe the Bible actually says that.
It does. Several times I was on Tinfoil Hat and I brought up like 20 different pieces of scripture that will confirm that the God in the Bible is actually Satan, which is awesome. And yeah, again, it's revelation of the method. It's all right there, isn't it? And so my question is someone like an anarchist is sort of an antichrist, because your job is to come in here and take down the system that has been propped up as a great system, but really you've seen, like we've seen, these flaws in it that are really so damaging and that produce a hell on earth that we can't stand. And so in that way, the Christ of this world wants the chaos to continue, because that's what this place is sustained on. Some would say as an energy farm, like Howdy Mikowski and some others, which I am seeing this place way more like that than usual. And so to that level, you're actually doing God's work in the spark sense, because you're really taking down this matrix. And that's one of the best ways to abstain. It's not to play the game.
Yeah. And the Bible is an interesting topic in and of itself, because, I mean, is there the Bible? I mean, how many different, it's 6,000 some
odd. We could do a whole episode on that.
Variations, but let's not forget that I have irked so many dear friends and family members by what I'm about to say, but I still, and I don't mean it to be argumentative, but I would table the possibility that we at least allow what I'm about to say to be true. I think the Bible is the most popular government document of all time.
Damn. Okay. Hashtag explain, but I like it. Go ahead.
The Bible, if I understand correctly, and I am completely open to being wrong, but if I understand correctly, the Bible was a collection of books that was assembled by Emperor Constantine, Roman Emperor, government, Roman Emperor, and published, and said, and there prior to the Council of Nicaea, there wasn't the Bible. There was a bunch of different belief systems, and the government wanted to centralize that belief system, clean it up. So again, I may be wrong, but as my research has played out, Constantine gathered all the influencers, held them captive, said, we are not leaving until we all decide, and by we, I mean me, decide what we are and aren't going to believe going forward. And there were books that were taken out of the equation. I think the Book of Enoch is probably one of my most favorite ones that was kicked out.
And the Bible refers to it. Yeah.
And if anyone isn't familiar with the Book of Enoch, just go look it up, because there's some fascinating things that are extremely relevant. I think part of the Book of Enoch that blows my mind to this day is the mathematical accuracy that is still accurate about all of the heavenly bodies and their patterns, and when, how they move, when they move, where they move. It blows my mind. I can't imagine why they wouldn't want that in the Bible. Hashtag NASA. Never a straight answer
ever.
But yes. So anything biblical by definition is government, and that wrinkles a lot of feathers. And I'm sorry, but it is a government document. It was put together by government, and to this day is still probably, like I said, the most popular government document of all time. And I'm not a fan of government, and I don't. At least the governments that I've seen, the only kind of government that I've seen in action is of non-consensual kind, and and that just doesn't ring true to my little agorist heart. So,
no. And again, to words, to people putting out there right in your face. So if you look at like the etymology of entertainment, by the way, so ment, anytime it says ment at the end of a word, this again for all of us here, it's mind. The mind is MENT. So government is mind control, to control the mind. Now,
hence the term mental.
Exactly. And entertainment, of course, comes from the Latin enter, which means inside, and then tain, which means to grasp or to hold or to possess or to occupy or to control.
Inside the mind.
And then ment, which means the mind. So entertainment means to enter, to grasp, hold, possess, occupy, or control the mind. And exactly to what you said when we're talking about doubles and all of that kind of stuff, I actually had a quick question for you. Do you think that they're clones, or do you think that they're physical body people out there that look a lot like them, and then they maybe modify them a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the whole cloning thing. I don't even think it would be necessary because, I mean, look at even with the whole Paul McCartney story.
Yeah.
And people will fall on different sides of that. But no one can argue with there was a Beatles look-alike contest held, and if you saw pictures of that, there's people that look damn close. I mean, damn spot on, and so it's not hard to find 3 or 4 guys that look like Eminem, or 3 or 4 guys that look like Tom Cruise, or 3 or 4 chicks that look like Taylor Swift. It's not hard to find that. And you have situations, I think, Avril Lavigne, remember Canadian pop star.
I saw the first version of her at a concert. Yeah. I mean, way long time ago.
Well, why is it so hard to wrap your mind around the fact that you have this young woman who tried really hard to have a career, got it, decided that it was absolutely awful, didn't want anything to do with it, probably struck a deal with the company that financed and created that career, easily find 2 or 3 people that look like Avril Lavigne. She gets a nice severance check and pieces out and goes and lives a quiet existence somewhere else, and the brand carries on. Kiss is kind of doing that out in the open. I mean, you just need someone to wear the makeup and get up there and perform the parts. I mean, people that are going to see Kiss, they don't really think that Peter Criss is playing drums and Ace Frehley's playing guitar. They flat out know that those are not them. They're just guys that are wearing their outfits and playing the part. And that's okay, but saying that Avril Lavigne that is today is actually a different person than recorded the first record, people think you're a nutbag, or that, like I said earlier, we're on our 3rd or 4th Adele, and
Kanye, Jamie Foxx is new. They forgot to put the tattoo on the back of his head apparently, and he's taller.
Yeah, and the McCartney, the post 66 McCartney was almost a half a foot taller than the original McCartney, and they've gotten better over the years, because back in 1966 there weren't people like you and me having these discussions out in the open and want to talk about the shape of the inner ear and earlobe surgery and facial reconstruction to kind of make people weren't talking about that kind of stuff, but now why here is something. I'm curious what you think about this. I've been waiting because the whole the eugenics crowd, which is pretty much all of the the string pullers. That's I really believe that's, if you back things up, they're all eugenicists trying
it's
to
just Nazis that re-infiltrated after World War II. Yeah.
But they strongly, again, much like that karmic thing, they believe in inversion. If they can get you to believe that up is down, or that black is white, or that right is left, that's part of their deal. And so enter the whole trans agenda thing, which I think is 100% eugenic driven. I don't think it has anything to do with gay or any of that stuff
and
at all.
And if you look at constitutionally, you avoid your rights as well, because rights are only granted to a man or a woman, a biological man or woman. It says it in the Constitution. So it's another way sort of on the sovereignty side of things to waive your rights.
Well, I think that might be like a happy little, byproduct of it. But I think at the core of it, you've got a lot of this inversion going on that if you can get somebody to believe that they are doing one thing when they're actually doing another thing, Catholics, about sorry, should I leave now? No, but I mean, if you took your average Catholic and said, you realize you're going to the Church of Satan, right? I mean, you understand that, right? They'd be like, oh my God, you're the devil, It is. But if you can get people to passionately believe in something when actually they're really believing in the opposite and they don't know it, that sure is a huge part of what I see the trans agenda doing. And Hollywood who is made up of these eugenic weirdos, they've been doing that for years, where people present as a man, but they're really a biological woman. Yeah,
like Barbara Bush or Melinda Gates lately, Kevin Kline, right? Yeah, there's one for you.
My favorite is the old 60s group, the Shangri-Las. I mean, look, do an image search of the Shangri-Las. It's three women, but you'll see that one of them is definitely a woman, the blonde. But look at the other two, and it's
okay. We are going to go ahead and screen share here so that the audience can take participation in this as well. Guys, check the link in the show description for the video version of this show. We're going to be doing that real quick. Okay, so is this the one you were talking about?
Well, there was a fourth member originally. Try to find another one that's a little more.
Okay.
But even
those are dudes.
Yeah.
It's a man, baby. I mean, and what's the big deal? Like, why do you think that existed like that?
Well, because I don't think
that's a dude.
Absolutely.
That's a dude.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think that they like first of all, I think the three participants there are caught up in it. Okay. A lot of these scenarios, or these were kids that were raised to do this job, a lot of times unbeknownst to them. But there's a couple. I wish you could like clearly you see the guy there on the left. Do that color one.
Look at this.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one. That's the one I wanted. Right there. That's it. Yeah. Now,
I mean, what is it? It keeps taking us to their Facebook. We don't want that. Okay.
Yeah. Just hit that image right there. There we go. Like seriously.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean that looks like the high school quarterback,
Yeah, but what's the point? Is it to confuse? Okay. Is this the
well? Yeah. See, I don't think that those three individuals. I don't think it was their diabolical scheme at all. I think they were manipulated by those with very dark beliefs that get some sort of karmic or energetic payoff from getting the public. Now this is back in the 60s, so they were a very, very big group. So you had millions of people singing, my boyfriend's back, or whatever their hits were, and they get that energetic, that spiritual payoff, because there were young boys that had crushes on these. Yep. So here's where my question for you is. So flash forward to today, right? This has been going on for a long time, right? And there's already been like little bits and pieces kind of slip out here and there. You got like the Joan Rivers comment about, Mike Obama, and well, both of them. I mean, I think that's a good example of, he's a she and she's a he, and you can see old pictures.
You think Barry Soro's a chick?
Sure is pretty feminine. Yeah.
Do you think it's just a feminine male that's in a gay relationship with a dude named Michael they call Michelle?
Could be, because there are lots of reports that back in the day, Barry was spotted at gay clubs. So that could be. But
and Andrew Basiago, he had the Project Pegasus. Allegedly, he went to Mars and shit in a jump room, and he knew he was going to be the president.
So what's going to happen now? Think about like today. Think about how divided and how mentally just manipulated a lot of people are right now. What's going to happen when people, especially men, realize that these pinups, the guys that, like, years ago had the Farrah Fawcett poster in their room, and they're like, oh, and they realize that's a dude.
Farrah Fawcett's a dude.
Or Megan Fox, or
Megan Fox is a dude.
Well, Megan Fox has said a couple of times. I think there's clips of her saying that she's a dude, and I mean the Megan Fox rabbit hole. You can jump down that and make your own determinations. But it's been my experience that a large majority of celebrity is taking part in this and has always taken part in this. And so you have to go, I don't know, pick a celebrity and go back and just look at pictures. Now, a lot of times, it doesn't age so well. Jennifer Aniston would be a good example of that, where
Jennifer Aniston's a dude.
Dude, look at pictures of Jennifer Aniston today. It's not, you can't get past, you can do a lot, with the younger body, but once the skin starts to sag and stuff like that, you can't hide the jawline. You can't,
what are your thoughts on like the adrenochrome thing, that they're taking some, adrenalized blood that's horribly harvested, and then that gives them some sort of glamour ability and some sort of youth fountain of youth type facility, but then once it's over, it's sort of they feel like they're falling off. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I, in fact, my wife and I, we are, as we speak, I mean, not right now, but we are in the middle of a therapy where we are taking, it just so happens, and this is just a blessing on top of blessings, but I've got two sons. One's 18, one is 26. And my 18-year-old, he and his mother are an exact blood match, which is pretty freaking cool. And we are now going into the third. We're doing this on every new moon because we want to have it be cyclical. And I'm not doing this in my garage or anything. I'm doing this with some very, very competent professional help. But we are taking his young, vibrant, super healthy blood, spinning it up, taking his plasma, and injecting it into his mother in key places to help her with pain and functionality. And it has been incredibly promising. We're only 2 steps into what will probably be a 30, 40 step. Probably this is going to be take place for years, but no, I mean, you are literally taking young life and putting it into a new environment. Like I said, it has to be a compatible environment. My wife and her son are compatible because they're exact same blood type. And good things can come of that. Life will continue, Life in any form doesn't want to end. I mean, there is a life force that wants to continue, and it wants to thrive, and it wants to perpetuate. And so I've seen with my own eyes that youthful blood put into an older body does good things. Now, it's one thing to be trying to help someone who suffers from some extremely unfortunate physical circumstances. It's another thing when you're a Hollywood celebritard and you're bathing in the blood to keep your skin young, or you're drinking the blood, or or you're doing other things with the blood. And the blood culture has been synonymous with celebrity culture for years. That's nothing new either. Now, the whole adrenochrome thing, I wish I hadn't, but over the last 25 years, I've looked at probably more cellular and blood behavioral issues. I've looked at my wife's blood at a molecular level for years, so I understand what's going on there. When we've all heard stories of, like, when people are panicked or freaked out, they can lift up cars, or that's a very real thing. And so when you take a mammal and you have it, especially a young mammal, and you have it in fear, just horrifying fear, it's secreting hormones that it wouldn't normally secrete, which is why I think eating corporate meat of any kind is really bad for you, not just physically, but it's bad for you emotionally and energetically, because 9 times out of 10, you are eating the meat of an animal that died under horrific conditions. And so when that animal died, it was secreting fear and all of that stuff. And so by the same token, if you've got phone was ringing, I want to make sure it wasn't an emergency. If you've got if you have a young mammal, anything, a baby, anything, and it's horrified, and you are taking that blood out of it, blood's made up of many components, but if part of that blood that you're taking out of it has got some of those fear hormones, secretions in it, and you are a entity that gets off on that kind of energy, that's like candy to you, and kind of one of those hiding in plain sight. Monsters Inc. was I think that was more of a documentary than it was a kid's show.
Yeah, you blend that with the Matrix, and I think you've got it.
Yeah. So I've never been in the same room with adrenochrome. I've never seen it, but in theory, it makes a lot of sense to me why someone of that mindset would chase after that drug, if you will. So, I mean, it definitely makes, on paper, it makes a lot of sense to me why it's horrible. And I, of course, don't condone that at all, because there's only one way to get that drug, and that's to cause another living being to suffer. And I mean, and I'm not just talking like suffer. I mean, you need, in order to get those secretions, you have to have horrific fear being instilled upon that body to secrete those. And so horrible things, would have to be done. And so, and we've all heard stories of some of those horrible things that there's been people who have testified, to being witness to some of those things. And yeah, it's just again, energetically, and people don't have to believe it, but they do. They believe that very, very strongly, and I think they probably have good reason to believe it, because I think they get off on it, and it would make sense why they would get off on it, because that's who they are. That's what they. A lot of this stuff is energetic, and and energy's everywhere. There's all different types of energies, and we've felt it. You can you feed. I mean, we're feeding off each other's energy right now. It's in a good setting, but I mean, if one of us was not being kind or loving or participant, I mean, this would be a different kind of a conversation, and you'd feel it, But so I don't know. A lot. When what was it, Tesla that said everything is frequency. I really do believe that is the case. I mean, you can see. Are you familiar with with what a Chladni plate is?
Chladni.
Chladni. like a piece of metal that's got attached to a speaker underneath, and then they can vibrate that with frequencies, and you can
for
put
cymatics.
You can put sand or whatever in it, and the different frequencies form different geometrical patterns. I mean, that's proof positive that frequency manipulates physical matter. And the work of, Emoto with the water and the different shapes that the water can take when being exposed to different, not just different frequencies, but different emotions and stuff like that. And how, you screaming at the water and it goes from this shape to this shape, or you're being loving to the water and it goes from this shape to this shape. I mean, it's all I think everything is energetic. And I just think that the psychopaths, they just get off on a whole other spectrum of energy that like we just find repulsive.
I do not disagree with you, and it's a fucking weird place that we're in, man.
Yeah.
All right, well, I tell you what, we're gonna wrap it up here, but I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
What do the controllers fear most? So there's this idea that there is something out there controlling or attempting to control us. What is their biggest fear?
Honestly, I first of all, I love the question. I think they fear, they need our attention. They need attention, like any manipulator does. Advertising is manipulation. What do advertisers need? Your attention. So these people that you're asking about, these are people who are taking the art of manipulation to its fullest extent. They need our attention, and the thing they fear the most is that we stop paying attention to them, which is why I again, the power of saying no, or even, I can't tell you the last time I watched cable news of any kind. I would rather stick a fork in my eye than watch cable news. And so, but 2 doors down from me this way, or my neighbor on the other side of me, I mean, they are so wrapped up in cable news that it affects literally their physical and their mental health. Now, how can we're the same human beings, we live on the same street. And how can one, like, I am 100% unaffected by all of it because it doesn't have my attention, and, so I really think our attention is what they fear most, not having our attention. And so simply turning things off, stop participating in their activities. That's what they fear the most, because at the end of the day, if they don't have your attention, they can't program you anymore. They can't manipulate you anymore, because they need your attention to program and manipulate. And so I really think it's as simple as that. And we are way more powerful than we think we are. They've led us to believe that we're cattle, and that we're dependent cattle at that. We're dependent on, you got to have rules, you got to have government, you got to have all this stuff. Oh my gosh, what would happen if we didn't? Well, I don't know. Ask the bees, ask fish, ask birds, which may or may not be real, whatever, I mean, they seem to figure it out, but so I don't know. They fear us not paying attention to them anymore. And it's something that goes beyond money or whatever. Like our attention is whatever we give it. And I can turn my attention on or off, or I can point my attention wherever the fuck I want to. And I hope more people do. Just stop giving them your attention. You don't have to vote. You don't have to, there's so many things that you don't have to do. In fact, this is going to sound so opportunistic and
I was going to ask you to anyway, please go ahead.
But, if you go to theredpillrevolution.com/guide of anti-dependency guide, and that's not a ploy to get I don't care about sending you emails or selling you stuff. What I care about is sharing knowledge, and put that guide together, and it goes through some pretty big aspects of life. It goes, I'm on the list here: water, light, EMF, electrosmog, grounding, healthcare, sourcing, the difference between physical and digital, media in general, commercial versus private, and it ends on consent. And every one of those sections, I try to give 3 or 4 real life examples of things that you can do, anyone can do, to just kind of take back stuff for yourself. Stop giving it to them. Stop giving them your stuff. Stop giving them your attention. Stop giving them your energy. And I hope there's at least 3 or 4 things in that guide that makes everybody, even the most seasoned rabbit hole explorer ever. I hope there's at least 2 or 3 things in there that make you go, I didn't know that. That's cool. And it's not me saying these things. It's go do it for yourself. That's kind of one of my favorite things is like, I can sit here, I can tell you, I could talk about all sorts of things, but I love being able to go, look, you go do this for yourself and figure it out, because 2 guys on a screen might spark an idea, but we're not going to change people's minds, but we can put seeds in people's minds, and they can go and they can do things for themselves, and then they change their own mind, and that's how stuff really gets done.
We have planted a beautiful garden for us today, John Gusty, and I can't thank you enough, man. This has
brother,
been amazing.
Dude, you got a great show. You're a fucking awesome conversationalist. I'd do this again at any time, so door is always open.
Plenty to talk about, because I didn't even bring it. I mean, there's so many things that we didn't talk about. Again, the commercial versus private, the commercialization of ancient natural knowledge. Like, we have plenty to talk about, and so you will be invited back on. In the meantime, though, guys, all the ways to find him located down below, theredpillrevolution.com. Check that book out. It's outstanding. John, thank you again, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.